Welcome back to the days of Donizetti. Yesterday, we talked about Nemorino's Cavatina, the introduction of his love for Adina, and also the chorus that opens the opera, that sets the mood, the pastoral, folk, rural setting of this production. Well, today, we discuss Adina's Cavatina. This piece typically comes in either after Nemorino's Cavatina or after the second iteration of the chorus, depending on the production and the cuts associated with the opera for that production. So today, we're going to dive into Adina's Cavatina and a new character that's going to change the game a little bit for us. It's set in a very fluid sort of recitative, which simply means a spoken type of delivery of text. It's usually traditionally associated with really fast advancement of a storyline in opera history. And in this case, it sets the stage for involving the chorus and setting the text for the foreshadowing of the opera, and we'll tell you exactly how that's done. Immediately, she says, "Look how crazy and ridiculous these pages sound. Can you believe this story?" The orchestra responds. And what a funny little adventure we're about to embark on. The chorus wants to know, what are you laughing at? Make us a part, tell us, make us a part of your story. And she responds, it's the story of Tristan. A love story, Of course, can't wait to hear, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh, tell us. They ask for Adina to leggi, read it to us. And as soon as that mood is set, this very tense, we arrive at this sort of climax of the recitative, we dive right into this very lyrical, gentle, flowing waltz to set up perfectly for Adina to read the story. A beautiful flowing melody, very catchy. But interestingly enough, Adina's line is more focused on the delivery of text. We don't hear that melody in Adina's singing. That's actually played in the orchestra by the strings. In fact, her line is more static. It's really about the story. Interesting how the dialogue is, but what's also interesting is how Donizetti breaks convention, and this is such a tiny little moment and you may not even notice it, but the introduction to this waltz, typically the introduction to this type of piece would be maybe 1 or 2 bars, but here Donizetti gives us three bars. There's that one extra bar. It may not seem like much. It's a tiny little detail, but why on earth is that third bar there? It's another one of those examples of how this is sort of a more natural setting. Maybe she's getting set up to read, but it doesn't allow for it to be put into a regimented formula. Here's a 2 + 4 + 4. It's just more natural, free-flowing, if you will. She begins to tell us all about the story of Tristan and his love for Isolde, and this magical elixir, this elixir of rare quality, this perfect elixir with the secret recipe, and how he used it to fall in love with Isolde. Interesting. That sounds very much like this story, and in fact it is. It's foreshadowing the story of this very own elixir of love that we're about to embark on. But it's funny how the text is introduced to us. It's in the form of a story that Adina is mocking. She's making fun of this ridiculous love story. And of course, our protagonist, Nemorino, when we hear him answer, he believes this. He would love for this to be true. Man, if only I could find this elixir of such perfect and rare quality. And when Adina first sings about the elixir, the texture changes completely from the free-flowing waltz into a very energetic mazurka. And the entire chorus reverberates the message. Very energetic. And then we come to a standstill, and there's this tension built up. Leggi, read it to us. Continue reading. We want to hear more. and we hear another verse, all about how love is cruel, etc., etc. Well, we hear another iteration of how amazing and perfect this elixir is to sort of drive home the message of how important and beautiful this elixir can be and how potent it can be. After that, we have a brief coda to where we drive to a very energetic finish, a very typical device used in Italian opera. But what's interesting here in this section is that Adina and Nemorino have this sort of almost interplay of the triplets that when you come see the production, I'd love for you to pay attention to. We have Adina, and then it's responded to by Nemorino, etc., etc. And it may not seem like a big deal. It might be even hard to pick out over the chorus and the orchestra playing with us. But it's a fun little way to introduce them singing together and in and out of their lines. It's a fun little way. As soon as we get to this energetic finish, this climax of the piece, though, the piece doesn't really fully end. And this is a beautiful device that Donizetti uses. We have this play out in the orchestra. And all of a sudden, instead of the final chord being played, we hear a snare drum out of nowhere, somewhere off stage. Something is happening. Tune in for the next episode of Days of Donizetti to see how this continues to pan out.